So it's time for the all-defense picks of 2020. This is one of the more frustrating ones because in a perfect world we could just do top 10 defenders regardless of position, but we have to honor positions. So there's going to be times when dudes who should be there just can't do it. The most recent example was Myles Turner last season. Like, he was definitely one of the 10 best defensive players, but third best defensive center, so unfortunately didn't get there. And I'll also say now, I don't really know what position Bam is going to be considered for the NBA. Is he going to be a forward or a center? Because he was a front court for the All-Star, which that doesn't answer my question, so that's weird. Anyway, for the first team guards, I'm going to go Marcus Smart and Ben Simmons. Marcus Smart manages to defend almost any position while being 6'4". The Celtics rely on him quite a lot there to be a pest, to just be a brick wall, and you can't really post the guy up. And that's becoming a little bit more of a common theme with guards, and that'll be a story for another guy on the second team. The other one, Ben Simmons. There's a world in which Ben Simmons can defend all 5 positions, especially with how centers nowadays are not asked to just post up like that. I think the craziest thing about Ben's defense is I feel like he can keep getting better. Like, I do think he can win a couple of Defensive Player of the Years, and perhaps he would have had a chance to do that if he was healthy and we had basketball. Ben is just great. I mean, if you put him on a point guard, the size difference is just so massive that it's like unfair. But then, of course, you can switch him onto guards and power forwards, and the dude's strong as hell, and I think he was up to 2 steals a game. Yeah, 2 steals and a half a block, which, I mean, I think steals and blocks are overrated in terms of your actual defensive impact because there's so many possessions that don't result in either one of those things. But it's still nice to look at, and usually when you get to around 2 steals and up, that's usually a pretty good sign of a guy having a hell of a season defensively. So those are your guards, Marcus and Ben. We're still on first team. First team forwards, Giannis and Anthony Davis. I know some people want to prefer AD at center, but I just have to go by what the NBA considers these dudes, and AD was a forward for the All-Star voting, and I'm assuming he'll be a forward for this, so that's him there. To me, Anthony Davis is the Defensive Player of the Year. Him and Gobert were neck and neck for a bit, and then Gobert kind of fell off defensively, and that's going to be something that I have to talk about here in a little bit. So I think AD has taken the reins, and I would give him the award. Giannis has been, of course, great defensively all season, whether it's weak side stuff, rotations. He's probably had a couple of chase downs here and there that I just don't remember off the top of my head. And then just fundamentally sound on-ball defense and all that. Giannis is great. While I think LeBron is still the better player, I think Giannis has had the best regular season out of everybody. So, yeah. And then for the first defensive team center, I'll be honest, I don't totally know what to do with the centers. Embiid has played 20 less games than a lot of the other candidates. Gobert fell off, but the season overall, his defensive stats are still good. Bam is not the one-man defensive show that I initially thought of. He's still very good, and I think without him, Miami's defense would fall apart, but he's not single-handedly making their defense either, you know? I think Myles Turner and Wendell Carter at least are within shouting distance of all defense. And then we have Brook Lopez, who has been great this season for the Bucks. And his rim protection has been awesome, and the Bucks have allowed the least amount of shots in the restricted area. But then it's also like, do I not put Lopez here because of my preconceived notions that you can attack him and you can force him to defend in space and he can have trouble? But does that even matter? Like, does all that matter when he's just been great for this season, you know? I mean, I know people want to credit Giannis for everything the Bucks are doing defensively. And, I mean, Giannis has, of course, been awesome there. I got him first team for a reason. But Brook Lopez has also been really, really good on that side of the floor. And he's also played, 17, 16 more games than Embiid has. His numbers are better than Gobert's, especially when I compare the last 15-ish games or whatever. Like, Gobert's on-off numbers are in the negative, which has never happened with him before. So, basically it's like, do I have the guts to put Brook Lopez for first-team defense? I don't totally know. There's also the thing of, like, while I do care about games played for the All-NBA teams, because we're evaluating your overall performance, do I need to care about that as much specifically for all defense? Because if I don't, then Embiid is definitely the guy here. Because, the on-off stuff, the defensive rating stuff, which I think is more of an important stat when we're talking about centers, all of that favors Embiid over everybody here except for Brook Lopez. And even then, the Bucks are still great defensively when Lopez is off the floor. And even then, if I do that in the last 15 games, I don't think that favors him as much. See, this is why I wish I could just put Anthony Davis at center, because then I could just go like Giannis Kawhi or something, and this would be so much easier. But I gotta pick somebody. I think I'm gonna go Bam. I do. He's played more games than Embiid. I really just have a tough time believing that Brook Lopez has been a better defender than Bam. The way that Bam has switched on to people this season and stuff like that. Now, like I said in the beginning of the video, and this is something I should have mentioned for the All-NBA stuff, if Bam is going to be considered a forward and not a center, then I guess I would be giving this to Embiid for first team. So yeah, Bam for first team defense. If we move on to second team guards, I've got Eric Bledsoe, who, we can fear what the dude does in the playoffs, but regular season-wise, he remains a frickin' bulldog, and it's impossible to set a screen on the guy. And I feel like part of why Lopez has been so effective with his rim protection this season is because Bledsoe forces guards into the exact spot, which is that in-between of the free throw line and the rim, to where they don't totally know what to do, and then Lopez can capitalize after that. There's that. So Bledsoe, Kyle Lowry is the other one, if I didn't say that already. A lot of the things I can say about Bledsoe, I can say about Lowry. Lowry, similar to Marcus Smart, it's bigs think they can post him up, and then suddenly Lowry just doesn't move at all. I mean, the guy is 6 feet, but he's effectively like 6'6". So for second team, forwards, I have Kawhi for one of them. I think Kawhi showed flashes of the old Kawhi a bit this season. And then the other forward, so there's a few candidates here. Siakam, Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum, Chris Middleton, LeBron, if you want to strictly go by defensive rating. Serge Ibaka is having a bit of a year. I would love to go PJ Tucker, but I feel like the numbers just don't back him up enough, and I don't want to go on those things too hard, the defensive rating and the on-off stuff, but I think they do matter a bit, and when they're overwhelmingly against a guy, then I think that does hurt his case. I mean, PJ Tucker's like 170th in defensive rating amongst forwards, whereas everybody else I'm talking about here is like in the top 6 or so. Can I just go like Jason Tatum and call it a day? I feel like that's fair. I gave Siakam and Jimmy third team All-NBA over Tatum, so I'll give Tatum second team defense over those two. The on-off stuff for Tatum, the plus-minus, all that has been very, very positive for him. He's actually been a plus every minute of his career so far, or every average net rating, whatever you want to call it. The Celtics have just been a better team with him in the game ever since he showed up as a rookie. And I guess this is just the next step for him defensively, whether it's defending a great player one-on-one or helping or just not making a lot of mistakes. Like, you just add all of that up, and before you know it, you're a very good defensive player. So there's Tatum. And then for center, I'm going to go Embiid. Like, yeah, the numbers suggest Lopez has been better defensively, but I just refuse to believe that Brook Lopez is a better defensive player than Joel Embiid, you know what I mean? And maybe that's unfair to Brook, but yeah. So recap, Marcus Smart, Ben Simmons, Giannis, AD, Bam. Bledsoe, Lowry, Tatum, Kawhi, and Embiid.